Okay, probably
Please
he's
move to the
not.
next presenter.
Okay, so we move to the next presenter. I would like to call Dr. Amitava Rakshit from Banaras Hindu University, India, to present his research.
Thank you very much. At the outset, I must put my sincere gratitude to Professor Hanif, Dr. Sapak, the session coordinator, and of course, Mariam and Sarwar for putting this great effort, at this very difficult time, and my dear fellow colleagues. And well, it's a great pleasure amongst you in a very difficult time, as I mentioned, in a very difficult, trying time when the entire humanity is being challenged. And we used to, put this sort of background because, this SE, Asian Council Science Editor, and this Live DNA, they're putting all these efforts for the many more years, for the last many more years, and making us connective, even in this very difficult time, when we are really struggling hard. Well, today I'm going to talk on an issue which is basically our research, which we wanted to translate to the ultimate, with that ultimate goal of reaching that particular science into practice. Means we wanted to translate whatever we are practicing in our laboratory, and we wanted to see that whether it is working actually at the last man in the road. That means basically the farmer. So the topic is biotechnological innovations. And definitely, I'm not going to talk about those rocket science, but definitely whatever existing science are there, we will put our effort, we will put our concerted effort in that, and we will just divert, and we will explore that what best we can, come out with that sort of innovations or intervention for improving resource use efficiency in agriculture. And this is going to be a priming story. And this is a fact which it's a very, very one important issue, and we need to be in consensus that, well, India is progressing very fast, because I'll be talking about a story from India, but that is going to be prevalent in the Asian perspective as well, because this priming story is going to be prevalent across different parts of Asia and the Southeast Asia as well. So India is progressing, so there is no denying in that fact. But at the same time, whether you take any field, whether it is science, whether it is resource and development, and in every phase they're doing their best, and they're trying out with flying colors. But at the same time, when we look at that, out of these all developments, in Indian agriculture is not an exception as well, because Indian agriculture has made a great strides. If we look at from the day of independence to the present context, we have achieved a huge, means now to meet out this huge bargoing population of the country, which is almost 130 crores, touching to 130 crores. And if you want to just go ahead with the right kind of food and the quality food, definitely you have to put your huge effort. And this is one, if you look at the left side where I put that India is a major agricultural producer, this is one presentation which was presented at the 150th centenary of the origin of species, and 200th birth centenary of the Charles Darwin birth celebration. And there I presented, it was long back, 2009. And there I have presented very categorically that time as well, from a very, at a particular point of time when India was struggling very hard in agriculture, but that has made an impeccable change at that point of time. And if we look at the present estimate, which is very recent, means as per the first advance estimates of 2021, 2022, even we are maintaining the similar sort of performance, whether if you look at food grains or well seeds or cotton, jute, mesta, sugarcane, anything. And even apart from this part of agriculture, even in animal husbandry, the country is doing handsome and progress is there. But at the same time, while we are very convinced about this progress, we are very convergent with what is happening in this particular agricultural field. And at the same time, we wanted to make it a point over here that while India is a haven of stability in an increasingly turbulent global economy, where everywhere, every part of the other part of the agroecology, where it is being shattered with those economic up and down. But is it that we wanted to pose another question here is, are we going to grow those green seedlings from the pile of coins? Because we may be economically stabilized, but that doesn't mean that everything is going well in the country. So, and it is a common consensus that, well, if you look at the natural resource base, particularly I'm just targeting the soil, and which is a basis for your food, feed, and medicine ecosystem services and fuel as well, means whatever the basic needs are there. But if we look at the present status where we stand now, because we reached to that sort of position where we achieved a lot, but at the cost of a depleting soil organic matter, which is a very, very important issue, whether to address the issue of your climate change. And then the next important is your imbalance in fertilizer use, then spurious material. This is something which is coming up heavily in the country. Lack of vibrant vigilance on your quality control, whatever our farmers are using may not be that may not be having the right quality they are using, because it's not possible to have to go through all those quality measures at all those remote places. And we have dearth of quick testing kit, and emerging multi-nutrient deficiencies are very common in the country. And you have a declining nutrient use efficiency, because I was targeting on your resource use efficiency, and which is happening with the result of your negative nutrient soil nutrient balance. And when I mentioned all of these, because this is a concern, it is not a it's a global concern. And and if we look at India, so definitely we try to address and we try to find out, is there any real crisis? With reference to these natural resources. And if it is the question, definitely, and when we look into the greater detail, if we go into the greater depth understanding, we try to understand the problem, and we come out with those issues that, yes, we have some real issues related to your natural resources, whether it is with reference to your degradation of your natural resources, with reference to deterioration in your physical, chemical, biological properties, as well as because ultimately it is going to be impacted on your human health. So if we look at the soil, plant, animal, atmosphere continuum, if we look at this continuum, definitely it is going to be implicated in that particular animal health. And yeah, I have given one example of the one districts of which is a very important districts, and which has made a huge development, as well as huge contribution in the course of the green revolution in the country, the Punjab. And if you look at those data, you will find that yes, there are concerns related to zinc, related to sulfur, related to iron. And if we look at this zinc, and if we try to correlate this zinc with the physiological health of human being, definitely there are many issues that are coming up, whether it is your gastrointestinal disorders, whether it is related to all your nerve diseases, and even the abortions are coming up with either it is zinc, sulfur, and iron. So they are all contributing in this particular process. And as I initially said that, well, we have an emerging multi-nutrient deficiency. Until this point of time, we have this sort of problems, whether starting from nitrogen, iron, phosphorus, zinc, potash, you name any. We never know that, in times to come, what are the other things are going to be there with reference to these. And if we look at the efficiency of these particular nutrients, if we look at, look at these micronutrients, they're very low. And if you look at even nitrogen, it is also, 30 to 50. And if everything goes fine, if you can create that sort of congenial situation, your phosphorus efficiency is to the tune of 15 to 20. It is so low. And if you look at the subsidy, because this is a sector, particularly in Asia, the government is putting, huge subsidy in this particular sector. I'm talking about the fertilizer subsidy. And if you look at the subsidy statistics, well, we were increasing up to, even more than 1,30,000 crores Indian rupee. And that was a huge subsidy, and we started reducing it. And even again, looking at the growth which we targeted to address this huge population, we have again increased this particular subsidy, because we in the last few years we decreased that, but now again we have increased this subsidy. And this particular this fertilizer sector is a very, very energy intensive sector. Because if we look at, if I just give an example of a nitrogen, if it is a 1 kg of nitrogen from the point where it is being produced, that means the fertilizer industry, and the point where it is being applied, the particular your farmer is applying, it takes around 78 megajoule, 78.6 megajoule per kg of nitrogen. But if we look at the other options, means biological options, if it is a solid options, it is, as low as 0.2 megajoule. I will be talking huge energy. So, so the point which I wanted to put over here is that are we looking at the tip of the iceberg? Are we looking at the only then we cannot expect the crop productivity at its higher level, which we have observed with this, that when you have an optimal combination of all that, so that gives a clue to work ahead with the further proceedings. So definitely the question which we wanted to raise is that we have in practice some very simple intervention, It should not be a rocket science, because whenever we are going to translate it to the last man in the row, it should be implicable. It should be if the farmers could have able to take that particular technology, and it shouldn't have much dependence on your non-renewable energy. And as a matter of fact, if it is not having much dependence on your non-renewable energy, definitely we'll be able to save a reasonable amount of subsidy and to improve our nutrient use efficiency. So definitely one of the available options which we have is definitely your seed priming. And when I talk about seed priming, this is something a day-old practice. It's not something very new. Whether it is osmo priming, whether it is hydro priming, whether it is matrix priming, there are multiple options you have. You have a drum priming, you have a nutri priming, as well as you have, because we are going to advocate one particular options which is already existing in the ecosystem. So where we need advocacy, and that is actually your biopriming. And when I said biopriming, this is basically, it's a process where it's a process of your biological seed treatment. And that refers to your combination. You are combining your seed hydration, as well as you are inocculating your seed with a particular your beneficial microorganisms, or you can tell a bioinoculant. So your bioinoculant becoming your primer. So these are our work which we actually we pursued in our lab. And basically what I put over here is this is the paving the way from our lab to the field. This microbial consortia, we initially started with trichoderma, as Dr. Sapak was giving more emphasis. It was very enlightening to see that the trichoderma is working like anything. So we started with trichoderma, and we wanted to see that there may be no other eligible candidates. We try to make some microbial consortia, because we wanted to address many more problems, whether it is related to nitrogen, whether it is related to phosphorus, whether it is related to potash, whether it is related to micronutrients. Because what we intend to do is we intend to make an enrichment. that we intend to make some sort of fortification. If we are able to do that, then definitely we'll be in a win-win situation. So starting from the association, starting from isolation, and going ahead, all those particular, making those compatibility study to come out with those microbial consortia, whether it is through those microbial synergism, whether it is through those plant growth promotion activities or those dynamic changes, we come across and we come up with some consortia, and we attempted to work with these in our particular, in our research field. And we started working with, this is the, you can see this is your untreated control and this is your bioprime seed. But in our study, our emphasis was always to try to address the abiotic stresses rather than biotic stresses, because, this biotic stress advocacy was always there, maybe, 10 years back. But we wanted to educate them that apart from this biotic stress reduction, it is having a tremendous capacity to go ahead with your abiotic stress reduction as well. And at the same time, when I say that there is a consortia, it can work in a consortia mode. At the same time, it can enthuse the other microorganisms. Because when we started working with trichoderma, we come up with a very important finding that it can enthuse the growth and the functioning of your mycorrhiza as well. Because we attempted to do it in divergent ecosystem, whether it is an alluvial soil and a red soil and a black soil. And so they are they're diverse soil. They are very having the different physicochemical, having very divergent physicochemical properties. But with this biopriming and with this integration approach with the existing integrated plant nutrient system, we advocated, we put this particular biopriming intervention over there. And what we observed that there is a huge growth, and there is a the functioning of this mycorrhizal part is being enhanced with that. And we also looked into our experiments at our university that this has a tremendous importance, and this priming can mediate those sort of biofortification, whether you name any micronutrients. Particularly with this is one experiment which we conducted with your red cabbage, and we get excellent result with reference to your iron, manganese, zinc, and copper. There is an enhancement. There is an enhancement with a simple intervention within your integrated plant nutrient system, where you can supplement even your 25% of your fertilization dose, because if it is your recommended dose of fertilization is your 100%, even you can supplement it by 25%. You can supplementation, you can do it. So definitely those sort of energy reduction will be always there. And if it is with reference to those biochemical properties like your protein, beta carotene, and anthocyanin, there is always an enhanced content in that particular produce. If you look at those particular T6 and T7, where we wanted to make those consortia between Trichoderma hertzianum and Pseudomonas fluorescens, we get very encouraging result. So although it is a very small intervention, but small is always beautiful. So this biopriming can do wonders, whether it is improving your nutrient use efficiency, water use efficiency, your enhanced plant growth, and definitely those biotic stress reduction. That means you can always eliminate your seed-borne pathogen, and at the same time you have other features as well. So once we go through all these, because we started this intervention 6 years back, and with that particular passage of time, we conducted those experiments in our particular university as well as the adjoining villages in many farmers' field as well, and we published data. And now we came to a point where we are now convinced that this is basically working. Means this is not something that we should translate this particular, we should convert this particular research to your particular field. So that convergence is very important. And for making this converging, this particular trichoderma science, whether I call it trichoderma, whether I call it consortium science of biopriming to practice, this becomes a huge task for us. So the simple intervention, because these are the interventions of they are making those seed beds, particularly we take, because this part of India, this is basically a rice wheat cropping system. This is mostly dominated by, if you look at the cropping system, this is basically a rice wheat cropping system. So we started with rice, and we wanted to see those a simpler intervention in these in between, because whenever they are going for those seed bed, we just add that particular, our consortia as a seed treatment, and we put the rest of the things as such. And at the same time, whenever we are, we wanted to implement this idea, because it was a just short of, it's a biopriming. Definitely, we wanted to bio-augment that particular piece of area. And at the same time, you will be very happy to, and I'm very pleased to let you share with all of you that we have taken care of that gender neutrality as well, because we have, taken help of those women self-help group. You can see over here that those people who are involved in the whole process, of, converting these simple science to, into giving those particular results. And whenever because these are those particular experiments which were conducted in farmers' field, we just attempted to see that what actually, impacted on your, whether it is on your physical properties, whether it is chemical properties, whether it is biological properties. We started, because I said it was a 6 years back we started, and this particular, experiment we started in 2017. But after this COVID, we had some sort of interruption, but still we are continuing with this. What is more important from these initial observations, because this is not, we didn't, go through all those statistical observations. We'll be presenting those statistical observations maybe in the next presentation. But what is very important over here is that you have a enhanced bioaugmentation. The biodiversity has been enhanced with this particular, biopriming or bioaugmentation intervention. At the same time, we have, improvement with reference to the physical properties, like the mean weight diameter, which is a very important parameter with reference to the water redistribution, the way your root is going to be redistributed within your soil profile. Everything is going to be a function of this mean weight diameter. So that has been improved. If you look at with priming and without priming, you will be able to see that there is a change. At the same time, the properties related to all those microbial and as I said, the biochemical as well as chemical properties with reference to your phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium, and with reference to even pH, there were some changes. There were some changes with reference to, we can see those changes, and we can see that you have a more chances of your nitrogen, that can be retained into your soil. And you have a more, phosphorus, more potassium as well. Most important striking feature is, if you look at the yield, what happened, in 2018, there was a withdrawal of monsoon, because this part of Asia or this part of India is a very, very susceptible with reference to these, because in many times it happened during the rice season, there is a withdrawal of monsoon. So if you are having a withdrawal of monsoon, it is for farmers, it is having a very difficult time to arrange for all those irrigations. So what we observed that in 2018, when there was a withdrawal of monsoon, even with this priming intervention, the yield was not affected that much. Because if we look at without priming and with priming, you can see there are changes. So that has happened because of this biopriming, simple biopriming intervention, this bioaugmentation intervention, as well as we also, observed in case of wheat, because, for wheat, we need an extended winter. But what happened in 2019, there was a shorter winter, because, this is also, very common in this part of India. So, and for that shorter winter, if we look at this particular wheat yield, it is also, you will find that it is, if it is with no priming and if it is with priming, the yield was not that much affected because of that particular priming intervention. And in the last year onwards, we are just trying to look into the detail of that. What about the nitrous oxide emission from that particular area? Because whenever it is those climate change or nitrous oxide emission, so every time this particular rice ecosystem is being targeted. So we are going through all that particular detail. We put this particular structure into our field, into our farmers' field. We are, we are syringing out those particular, nitrous oxides and those greenhouse gases, and we'll be able to put those data. So what is my final submission is definitely, this seed priming with this particular biological
Amitava, sorry to disturb you. You have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Improve your seedling emergence and crop stand establishment. Yes, ma'am, I'm just going to finish it right now. And yield and grain enrichment, because the enrichment with reference to those micronutrients is very important. So seed biopriming seems to be very pragmatic, inexpensive, and easy method for improving your nutrient use efficiency, especially by your small landholders in developing countries like India, and which can be replicated to many parts of Asia as well. Our study highlights that the significance of biopriming in substituting the mineral fertilizer requirement and promoting the eco-friendly crop production by improving your soil quality and produce your quality as well. And you have a reduction in your chemical fertilizer quantity. Not only you reduces your environmental, those footprints, those pollutions, but also your moderates the cost of production. So what is needed is we need to customize this biopriming technology, and we are working on this. We are working with one company to just scale up this technology, and this is a prime importance to attain the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal related to this poverty elevation, healthy energy, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable energy. So these are the key policy issues and functionality issues where every time we need to look into with greater details, because we need to empower the stakeholders. We need to think of a mechanism where it will go self-running mechanism rather than dictating mechanism. And I must acknowledge my university as well as my institute, ICRs, and those universities, and most strikingly Live DNA and the ACAC for providing this the financial help. I must acknowledge with greater thank. And I must acknowledge my extended team who work day and night for this particular for giving out these particular results, and which actually helped me to present before you. And I must thank you very much for patiently listening. And I'm thankful to the organizer as well as the session coordinator for giving me this time. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dr. Amitava Rakshit, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.